How to align your consciousness with the quantum field and feel the universe's real support. There are moments in life when a quiet ache settles beneath the surface, a feeling that something inside you has drifted out of rhythm without warning. It appears in the pauses between your responsibilities, in the nights when sleep becomes a negotiation, in the silence that echoes after you whisper a prayer you hope someone is listening to. This ache is not weakness. It is the subtle signal of a consciousness longing to return home, longing to realign with the deeper currents that once gave your life meaning. Many who walk this path carry a sense of spiritual fatigue, as if the universe has stepped away or forgotten their name when, in truth, the noise of survival has simply grown louder than the voice of their own essence. As you step into this journey with me, consider this space a moment of reconnection. Not a performance, not a ritual for validation, but a return to the clarity that has always waited beneath the layers of exhaustion, fear, and unmet desires. This video is an invitation to explore not only the philosophy of manifestation, but the quiet intelligence that moves beneath every breath, every intention, every moment of surrender. Here we will travel through the emotional landscapes that shape your frequency, uncover the subtle ways your mind and body communicate with the field, and awaken the sense of guidance that never truly left your side. Before we begin, take a slow breath. Something in you is ready to realign. The universe has never stopped responding. Only now you will finally learn how to listen. There is a particular moment in every seeker's journey when the inner landscape begins to feel unfamiliar, as though the ground that once felt stable has shifted beneath their feet. It is not a dramatic collapse, but a slow and quiet drift, marked by the recognition that life has been lived in fragments for far too long. This sensation often arises after repeated attempts to shift reality, to manifest something meaningful, or to reconnect with a sense of inner purpose. And when the results do not appear in the expected form or timing, many begin to assume that the universe has closed its doors. Yet the truth is far more subtle. The universe does not turn away. Instead, it waits for the moment when the individual becomes willing to look beyond the surface layers of striving and return to the essence from which alignment naturally flows. To align with the quantum field is not to master a technique, memorize a sequence, or pressure oneself into achieving a specific emotional state. It is a gradual reorientation, like turning your face toward the warmth of the sun after standing too long in the shade. This shift begins with acknowledging the state you have been living in, not through judgment, but through recognition. Many people walk through life carrying unresolved emotional weight, lingering grief, and the hollow fatigue that comes from years of navigating challenges without feeling truly supported. These emotional residues become patterns, and patterns become frequencies that shape how a person perceives the world. Long before one speaks a desire aloud, the body has already communicated its deeper truth through posture, breath, and subtle tension. Imagine for a moment someone who wakes each day with the quiet fear that they have fallen behind in life, unsure of whether they have missed some unseen window of opportunity. Their thoughts may be hopeful, but their heartbeat reveals caution. Their visualizations may be vivid, yet their chest tightens as they imagine receiving what they ask for. In this contradiction, there is no fault, only a human attempting to reconcile desire with unhealed memory. The quantum field responds not to the words said consciously, but to the emotional undercurrents that live beneath them. When these currents are shaped by doubt, urgency, or the fear of being unseen, the individual interprets silence as abandonment, when, in truth, the silence is an echo of their own internal conflict. Aligning consciousness begins by softening the internal resistance that has been mistaken for protection. Many individuals have spent years in survival mode, learning to anticipate disappointment, preparing for the worst, and assuming that stability must be earned through tension. Over time, this becomes the default emotional signature sent into the field. The work here is not to force joy, but to create enough inner space for stillness to enter. Stillness is not the absence of thought, it is the gradual loosening of the mind's grip. It is the moment when the past stops replaying long enough for the present to be felt fully. One of the most profound shifts occurs when a person begins to observe their patterns from a place of neutrality rather than self-blame. When someone recognizes that their hesitation, their hypervigilance, or their recurring doubt is not a defect but a learned adaptation, the emotional charge begins to dissolve. This gentle dissolution is often the first real moment of alignment. The body relaxes its defensive posture, breath deepens without effort, and the mind becomes less concerned with controlling outcomes. In this softened state, the individual becomes more receptive to subtle guidance, intuitive knowing, and unexpected clarity. Connection with the quantum field grows through presence, not pressure. The more one seeks to force an outcome, the more constricted the internal energy becomes. Yet when presence is cultivated, through moments of slow breathing, through honest reflection, through allowing oneself to feel rather than analyze, the field begins to respond with surprising coherence. What once felt disconnected begins to reveal an underlying symmetry. A person may suddenly notice synchronicities that were previously drowned out by internal noise. They may find themselves receiving insights in quiet moments, or encountering situations that reflect their inner shifts rather than their old fears. This chapter invites the understanding that alignment is not an achievement, but a restoration. It is the gradual returning to a self that has always existed beneath the layers of exhaustion, doubt, and emotional residue. When someone begins to experience even small glimpses of this internal reconnection, the outer world subtly rearranges itself. Not because the universe has changed its stance, but because the individual has altered the way they listen, the way they breathe, the way they inhabit their own presence. The quantum field does not respond to commands, it responds to coherence. And coherence emerges when the mind, heart, and body begin to speak the same language. This language is not perfection. It is honesty. It is the willingness to meet one's own inner landscape with compassion rather than critique. It is the courage to release the constant anticipation of disappointment and allow space for new possibilities to be felt, even before they are seen. When this internal shift begins, even subtly, it marks the true opening of alignment. It is the moment when the individual begins to sense the quiet reassurance that the universe has never withdrawn. Instead, it has been holding a space of infinite potential, waiting for the frequency of the seeker to soften, deepen, and finally resonate with the truth that support has been present all along. There comes a stage in inner awakening when a person realizes that their mind has been speaking louder than their essence for far too long. This realization rarely arrives in dramatic form. Instead, it appears quietly, often during moments when life feels strangely repetitive, as though each day mirrors the one before it. The routines may differ, the environment may change, but internally there is a familiar echo of stagnation. This is not because the individual lacks intention or discipline, it is because the emotional frequency they inhabit has been shaped by years of accumulated experience, most of which was endured rather than fully understood. Aligning with the quantum field requires beginning at this honest point of recognition, where the inner world becomes visible enough to be transformed. Many people approach manifestation with genuine desire, yet carry emotional imprints that contradict their aspirations. Someone who wishes to feel supported may still hold the memory of being overlooked. Someone who longs for abundance may carry a deep impression of scarcity formed during childhood. Someone who seeks clarity may have lived years without a model for true emotional safety. These imprints, though often invisible to conscious thought, form the foundation of the frequency emitted into the field. The quantum field responds not to surface optimism, but to the emotional truth stored in the body. When that truth is shaped by unresolved fear, loneliness, or a history of self-doubt, the individual interprets the delay in manifestation as proof of personal inadequacy, when it is actually an invitation to revisit the emotional landscape that has shaped their worldview. To move toward alignment, one must begin to sense the distinction between intention and embodiment. Intention is the conscious desire expressed through thought. Embodiment is the emotional state that communicates whether the person feels safe enough to receive what they desire. A person may say they trust the universe, but if their nervous system is conditioned to anticipate loss, their body remains in a protective stance. This stance is not wrong. It is a testimony to the experiences that taught them to be cautious. Yet it also becomes a barrier to perceiving the field's subtle responses. When the body lives in defense, it sends a constant signal of vigilance, and vigilance narrows awareness, making it difficult to notice synchronicities, intuitive nudges, or the quiet sense of guidance that arises in states of openness. The first movement toward alignment often occurs when the individual stops demanding instant change and begins listening to the emotional stories held within their own nervous system. This listening is neither indulgence nor analysis. It is presence. Presence creates the spaciousness necessary for the body to unwind the patterns it adopted in an attempt to protect itself. Many people attempt to force new beliefs into a body that is still living in past memories. This internal conflict creates tension, and tension disrupts coherence. Coherence emerges when the person allows themselves to feel without collapsing into the feeling, observe without retreating into judgment, and breathe without rushing toward a specific result. When coherence begins to form, something subtle shifts within the individual. They may notice a growing ability to experience moments of calm without needing external confirmation. Their breath deepens, their posture softens. The constant loop of mental prediction slows just enough for intuition to surface. This intuition rarely arrives as dramatic revelation. Instead, it feels like a gentle rearrangement of inner space, a sense that possibilities exist where previously there were only limitations. This sensation is the early resonance of alignment. It is the point at which the individual begins to participate in the field rather than resist it. The quantum field responds to clarity, and clarity is not achieved by forcing certainty, but by releasing the emotional clutter that obscures perception. Many individuals carry expectations shaped by comparison, feeling pressured to manifest quickly because others claim to have mastered the process. Yet the journey of alignment is not linear. It fluctuates in depth, expanding with each moment of honesty. When a person allows themselves to acknowledge their fatigue, their sorrow, their longing, or their fears, these emotions begin to lose their energetic grip. They cease to distort the signal sent into the field. What remains is a more authentic frequency, one that reflects the truth of the person, rather than the mask they believe they must present to be worthy of support. A significant part of this alignment involves reconnecting with the body's natural rhythms. Many people move through life disconnected from sensation, unaware of how stress settles in their shoulders, how loneliness tightens the chest, or how unspoken disappointment constricts the breath. When the body becomes a stranger, the messages of the quantum field seem distant or inaccessible. But when attention returns to the subtle shifts in sensation, the slow unwinding of tension, the softening of the stomach, the warmth that spreads when a moment of genuine clarity arises, these sensations act as anchors. They root the individual in the present, where alignment can actually occur. As alignment deepens, a shift in perception follows. Events that once seemed coincidental begin to form patterns of meaning. Encounters that once felt insignificant reveal themselves as threads woven into a larger tapestry. A person may recall a conversation, a memory, a dream, or even a moment of silence that carries new significance. These are the markers of a consciousness that is no longer trapped in linear thinking, but is beginning to sense the intelligence of the field. This intelligence does not operate through logic alone. It communicates through resonance, emotion, synchronicity, and the soft pull of intuition that guides the person toward experiences aligned with their deeper self. One central truth becomes clear. Alignment is not about achieving superiority or mastering esoteric techniques. It is about becoming internally congruent, letting the mind speak the same language as the heart, and allowing the body to feel safe enough to participate in the unfolding of possibility. When this congruence begins to form, the field responds with increasing clarity, not because the universe has changed its stance, but because the individual's frequency has shifted from fragmented intention to embodied presence. This is the quiet beginning of true alignment, where the seeker no longer moves against their own nature, but begins to walk in harmony with the deeper intelligence that has been guiding them all along. There is a moment in every inner journey when the individual begins to sense that their lived reality is not solely a product of external circumstances, but a reflection of subtle emotional patterns that have traveled with them for years. This realization does not arrive as an accusation. It unfolds like a gentle unveiling, revealing the intricate connection between one's inner atmosphere and the rhythm of life unfolding around them. Many people sense this connection intuitively, yet struggle to understand why their intentions do not always translate into tangible change. The deeper truth is that the quantum field does not respond to isolated desires. It responds to the totality of one's emotional and energetic expression. This totality includes the hidden fears, the unspoken grief, the quiet longing for reassurance, and the deep wish to be held by something greater than oneself. As individuals navigate this terrain, they often encounter a conflict between the identity they aspire to embody and the emotional residues that continue to influence their perception. For someone who longs for inner peace, the lingering echo of past chaos may still shape their nervous system. For someone envisioning abundance, memories of financial instability may still color their sense of safety. And for someone seeking divine connection, old wounds of spiritual disappointment may quietly question whether guidance is truly available. These remnants are not signs of weakness. They are impressions left by lived experience. The work of alignment begins by acknowledging these impressions without allowing them to define the future. One of the most profound shifts occurs when the individual starts to understand that the quantum field responds to coherence rather than effort. Coherence arises when thoughts, emotions, and inner narratives move in harmony, even if that harmony begins in the smallest of ways. Effort, however, often comes from a place of inner contradiction. A person may attempt to manifest something new while carrying an emotional posture built upon fear or anticipation of loss. In this contradiction, the universe is not withholding support. It is simply reflecting the mixed signals being sent. Alignment requires learning to listen to the emotional undercurrents rather than only focusing on conscious intentions. This listening invites the individual to slow down enough to feel the subtle movements within themselves. Many people have spent years moving quickly through life, functioning on instinct and reaction rather than presence. But when someone chooses even a brief moment of introspection, a new level of clarity begins to emerge. They may notice that their shoulders tighten, not from current stress but from old patterns of self-protection. They may realize that their breath shortens when thinking about the future, because the body learned to equate possibility with disappointment. These small recognitions are not merely observations, they are gateways. Through them, the individual begins to understand the intimate relationship between emotional patterns and the signals they emit into the field. To deepen this alignment, it becomes essential to recognize the role of imagination not as a tool of escape, but as a bridge. Imagination allows the individual to explore internal states that may not yet be fully accessible in daily life. When a person envisions themselves at peace, supported or aligned with their purpose, they are not fabricating a fantasy. They are engaging with an inner memory, waiting to be reawakened. The quantum field responds not to the image itself, but to the emotional resonance generated by that internal exploration. When the mind and body begin to experience even a fraction of the desired emotional state, coherence begins to form. This coherence is subtle, yet it becomes the foundation upon which new manifestations take shape. As coherence strengthens, perception shifts. The individual may begin to notice guidance in places they once overlooked. A phrase spoken by a stranger may echo in their thoughts with unexpected relevance. A memory may surface as though carried upward by a current, revealing insight they were previously unable to perceive. Quiet intuition may begin to offer direction that feels less like guesswork and more like recognition. These experiences are not coincidences. They are reflections of a consciousness becoming more attuned to the field. Yet this journey also requires honoring the emotional truths that arise along the way. Alignment does not mean suppressing discomfort or masking unresolved pain. Instead, it involves allowing these emotions to surface in a safe internal space where they can be acknowledged rather than resisted. When someone recognizes that sadness, fear, or uncertainty are not obstacles but messengers, these emotions begin to lose the intensity that once shaped their frequency. The person becomes more grounded, more compassionate with themselves, and more receptive to the subtle guidance that emerges from within. There is also a deep wisdom in accepting that alignment is not a single moment of transformation, but an ongoing relationship with oneself. Some days may feel expansive, filled with clarity and intuitive insight. Other days may feel heavy, clouded by old doubts or emotional setbacks. Yet both experiences belong to the same journey. The quantum field does not judge the ebb and flow of one's inner life. It reflects the authenticity of the signal being sent. When the individual approaches each phase with openness rather than resistance, coherence grows naturally, without force. The essence of alignment becomes clearer. It is the gradual dismantling of internal contradictions and the gentle integration of emotional truth. It is the recognition that the universe is not a distant entity, responding only to perfect thoughts, but an ever-present field resonating with the frequency of one's inner state. When that state becomes more grounded, honest, and emotionally coherent, the support of the universe becomes not an abstract belief, but a lived experience. It appears in moments of unexpected clarity, in sudden waves of peace, in the quiet reassurance that one is exactly where they need to be. This is the beginning of a deeper relationship with the quantum field, where the seeker moves from striving to listening, from forcing to allowing, and from doubt to presence. In this presence, the first true sense of universal support emerges, not as a gift granted, but as a truth remembered. There comes a point in the seeker's unfolding when the internal landscape begins to take on a new texture, as if long dormant spaces within the self are being illuminated for the first time. This often occurs after moments of quiet reflection, when the individual senses that their emotional patterns, rather than their intentions, have been shaping their relationship with the universe. In this revelation, there is no blame. Instead, there is a gentle recognition that life has been interpreted through layers of unprocessed memory, protective conditioning, and expectations formed in times of uncertainty. It is here, in this intimate recognition, that the path toward deeper alignment with the quantum field begins to widen. The quantum field does not engage with the person they aspire to become someday. It responds to the emotional atmosphere they inhabit right now. This atmosphere is shaped by subtle nuances that often escape conscious awareness. A person may desire expansion, yet carry the quiet habit of constriction whenever hope arises. They may long for love, yet brace internally whenever vulnerability approaches. They may seek clarity, yet hold on to narratives rooted in confusion, because those narratives once provided a sense of safety. These contradictions are not failures, but echoes of lived experiences, patterns that the nervous system adopted to avoid pain. When such patterns remain unexamined, they color every intention, altering the frequency transmitted into the field. As individuals move through this territory, they begin to realize that alignment is not the process of reshaping the universe according to their desires. It is the process of reshaping their inner relationship with themselves. The universe responds to authenticity, and authenticity requires meeting the truth of one's emotional state without resistance. When someone allows themselves to feel the depth of their longing, the tenderness of their disappointments, the lingering ache of unresolved grief, or the quiet hunger for meaning, these emotions begin to loosen their hold. The act of witnessing them creates space where coherence can emerge naturally, without force. Coherence is often misunderstood as a fixed state of positivity. In reality, coherence is a harmonious relationship between thought, emotion, and inner truth. It arises when the individual no longer divides themselves into fragments, when the mind, the heart, and the body begin to move in the same direction. This direction does not have to be one of immediate certainty. Even a movement toward honesty creates a vibrational shift. The quantum field responds to this honesty because it reflects alignment between one's inner world and the signal being broadcast outward. As coherence grows, the individual may begin to notice subtle internal transitions. They may feel less compulsion to control outcomes. They may become more attuned to the sensations within their body, recognizing the difference between tension born from habit and tension born from present moment intuition. They may experience moments of unexpected calm, as though something within them has stopped fighting against the flow of life. These gentle transitions are signs that the internal frequency is beginning to stabilize, allowing the universe's responses to become clearer. This stabilization invites a deeper sensitivity to the field's communication. The quantum field rarely speaks in absolutes. It expresses itself through nuance, through synchronicities, through symbolic echoes that reflect one's internal resonance. A chance encounter, a repeated phrase heard in different places, a sudden memory surfacing without context, all of these can act as mirrors, revealing the direction in which alignment is unfolding. To perceive these mirrors, the seeker must cultivate a presence that is receptive rather than impatient. Receptivity allows the field's subtle signals to be recognized not as coincidences, but as responses. Yet alignment also requires navigating the internal resistance that emerges when old patterns loosen. Resistance often appears as doubt, fatigue, or the urge to retreat into familiar narratives. These reactions are not signs of failure. They are the nervous system's attempt to maintain what it perceives as safety. As individuals honor this resistance, seeing it as a guardian rather than an enemy, the energy behind it begins to soften. The softening is not immediate. It unfolds gradually, like a tight knot, loosening strand by strand. Each moment of softening allows the signal being sent into the field to become more coherent. As this coherence strengthens, the individual often experiences a shift in how they relate to uncertainty. Instead of viewing uncertainty as a threat, they begin to sense that it is a space of becoming. In this space, the universe has room to participate. The person is no longer demanding answers, but listening. This listening opens inner pathways through which intuition can travel, revealing insights that were unavailable when the mind was preoccupied with control. It is in these states of intuitive openness that many discover the first true sensation of being supported, not because a specific outcome has manifested, but because they feel less alone within themselves. The emphasis rests on recognizing that alignment is not about erasing discomfort or achieving emotional perfection. It is about inhabiting one's truth with such honesty that the emotional frequency becomes a clear representation of the self's present state. The universe supports clarity, even when that clarity includes fear or unresolved longing. When individuals allow these emotions to exist without suppressing them, they stop sending contradictory signals into the field. Their frequency becomes grounded, and the grounded frequency becomes magnetic. This approach transforms the journey from one of striving into one of relationship. The person is no longer attempting to manipulate the quantum field, but learning to converse with it. This conversation is subtle, rhythmic, and deeply intimate, and as it deepens, the individual begins to understand that the universe's support has never been conditional. It has only been awaiting coherence. Coherence opens perception, and perception reveals that alignment with the quantum field is not something that must be earned. It is something that naturally unfolds when the self returns to its center. In this state of returning, the first true experience of universal support arises. It is quiet, steady, and unmistakably real. It is the reassurance that the journey is not solitary, and that the field responds not to perfection, but to presence. There is a quiet truth revealed throughout this journey, one that often goes unnoticed in the urgency of daily life. Alignment with the quantum field is not a distant attainment, nor a skill reserved for those who have mastered every aspect of their emotional world. It is a gradual remembering, a remembering of the self that exists beneath the noise, beneath the years of conditioning, beneath the patterns inherited from experiences that shaped your sense of safety. As your awareness deepens, you begin to recognize that the universe has never been silent. Rather, your own internal landscape was too overwhelmed to hear its responses. As this remembrance expands, something within you shifts. The anticipation that once strained your breath becomes a softer expectation. The doubts that once tightened your chest become invitations to observe yourself with more compassion. The emotional echoes of the past begin to lose their authority. Through presence, honesty, and embodied coherence, you learn that the quantum field does not demand perfection. It responds to authenticity, it reflects truth, and it amplifies whatever internal signal you allow yourself to inhabit consistently. The deeper this alignment becomes, the more effortlessly you begin to sense the quiet choreography of your life. Synchronicities appear not as accidents, but as confirmations. Moments of clarity feel less like fortunate timing and more like natural outcomes of an expanded awareness. Even challenges become bearers of direction, guiding you toward the places where your inner clarity is still waiting to be reclaimed. You realize that support is not always loud or dramatic. Many times it is a gentle nudge, a subtle unfolding, a feeling of inner steadiness at the exact moment you once would have collapsed. This journey does not end here. Alignment is a living relationship, one that deepens as you continue to honor the truth of who you are. And in this relationship, the universe meets you with a presence that is steady, intelligent, and unwavering. It meets you in resonance, not in resistance. It meets you where you are willing to show up fully. In that meeting, you finally understand that you were never walking alone. Before you leave, allow one question to echo within you. What would your life become if you finally stopped resisting your own alignment and allowed the universe to guide you fully? If this journey spoke to something deep within you, then this is the moment to stay connected. Subscribe to the channel so you can continue expanding your consciousness, deepening your inner work, and remembering the truth of who you are becoming. Your presence here matters, and your transformation is only beginning. Continue watching the video that appears on your screen now. Let the next step of your journey unfold with the same openness and trust you cultivated here. The universe is ready to meet you in the next chapter.